Oh, what a mess.
This is Neil Schneider from Meant to Be Seen. Welcome back to my messy basement. Today we've got a great interview with Cosmo Sharf. Cosmo is one of the co-founders of VRLA, Virtual Reality LA. It's got a wonderful story behind it. Cosmo, of course, is going to share his story and all the things we could look forward to at their Summer Expo, taking place this coming August 5th to 6th at the Las Vegas Convention Center. Excuse me, I stand corrected. LA Convention Center. Don't get the city wrong. Anyway, we're going to talk to Cosmo very shortly. Back with more right after this. Welcome back to the basement. To my immediate left is Cosmo Sharf, co-founder of VRLA. Welcome to my basement, Cosmo.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, I got to say, your office looks a lot cleaner, a lot tidier than my basement. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah,
like all the white walls and the whole thing. You got to decorate. You got to do something. You got to decorate. You got to hang VR devices and stuff.
Yeah, I keep it pretty simple in here. You should see my desk is a little messy, but I don't have a whole lot on my walls. But cool. I don't know. Maybe that'll change.
So, you know, you've been at this for some time. I mean, and if I may say, you're a young guy at this, so some time means you've been at this practically since birth, I'd say. Now, tell us, you're a student at USC. Have you graduated yet?
I actually dropped out a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I was studying film production, and then I had about a year left, and, you know, I was in the middle of VRLA and also our startup Visionary, and decided that my time was better spent focusing on those two things as opposed to school.
Well, that's the thing about entrepreneurialism, right? You've got to get in while the moment's right. And if you know, school, of course, is very important, but you obviously were having a lot of success before you moved on. You could always go back if you choose to.
That's true.
Remind me, what were you studying at USC?
I was doing film production. So I was originally from New York City, and the only reason why I'm in LA was because USC had such a great film program. I probably would have stayed on the East Coast, but, you know, one thing leads to another, and now we're doing VR. So how did
VRLA come about? Like, actually, let's rewind a little bit. How did you develop an interest in virtual reality? I mean, this seemed to just fall out of the sky.
Sure. Well, I've always been really, really obsessed with technology, you know, for most of my life. And also, you know, love kind of sort of surrealist, weird movies like, you know, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, for example, or, you know, movies that play on the sort of notion of like what is reality, stuff like Inception, Avatar, you know, etc. And I learned about the Oculus Rift whenever they posted the Kickstarter in the summer of 2012. Thought it was really cool. I remember showing my mom the page and, you know, trying to get her excited about it. I wasn't a developer or anything, and I, you know, didn't purchase it myself, but I just thought it was really interesting. And then it wasn't until, you know, I'd been reading about it for about a year, and then the next summer, I think right around when Valve had their Steam Dev Days, and they showed their prototype of what ultimately became the Vive. I was reading someone's blog post about their reaction to that technology, and the way they were describing it made it seem like the most incredible thing that has ever, you know, come into existence. And it was from reading that, you know, if that was true, you know, made me realize that this technology was going to be really, really important and really meaningful to our society. And I started getting more into the VR community because of that, you know, reading the Oculus subreddit, listening to, different podcasts, and, listening to the Rev VR podcast. And they were saying literally like, look online. If you don't see a meetup for VR, start one in your community. And that's exactly what I did. And here we are 2.5 years later. And, we're in the LA Convention Center. We're expecting about 6,000 people, over 100 different companies, from, the small one-man shop to the largest tech companies in the world are going to be there exhibiting. So it's been quite a journey so far. And, we're really just the very beginning of this whole industry and technology.
All right, good stuff. But it's not just yourself. You've got a team that's working with you. Maybe you could tell us about some of your colleagues.
Absolutely. I'm really, really fortunate to have such an awesome team that's been able to help execute that initial vision that I had. It wasn't long before I found the first person that would help me with VRLA. I really had, when I started the meetup group about 2.5 years ago, I really had no idea where it was going to be, what it would be like, when it would be. I just started the group without any details, and posted a link to the Oculus subreddit, and someone commented on that post and said, hey, maybe we could have the first event at our space, which was Digital Domain, the visual effects company where he was working, and his name is John Root, and he was the first co-founder, and really gave a legitimacy to the meetup that I definitely did not expect or intend. Having it there at a professional place really made a huge difference. And certainly, John has been in the games industry for, several decades, and games and visual effects. And, his connections have been very, very useful. And, of course, there's, 7 other people that we've, kind of added along the way, friends of friends. And, we're all doing this part-time. Actually, we all have day jobs. Most of us at other VR startups. So it's definitely, challenging to put something on that's at this scale. But, we've been pretty successful thus far.
I'll tell you a little John Root story. He's still on the VRLA team?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he actually, remind me. So he was, remind me of the company you mentioned that he was working for when he started up VRLA with yourself.
Digital Domain.
Digital Domain, yes, of course. So after Digital Domain, he later worked for Magic Leap. Mm-hmm. And then and more recently, he's on to a new venture, Envelop VR, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But the thing is, so I met John for the first time at FMX a couple of years ago. FMX is a conference in Europe. A very, very excellent conference. You should participate one day. And, everyone's talking Magic Leap. So he's got this wonderful sense of humor. He goes, okay, I've had it. You want to see Magic Leap? I'm going to bring it down right now. He goes up to his hotel room. He comes back, and he's got a plastic elephant in his hand. Because the whole Magic Leap thing, right?
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
So we had fun with it. I had a 3D camera on me, so I took a 3D picture of this elephant. So we said, hey, this is the Magic Leap with a 3D elephant. So it's a pretty convincing idea. So we got along well with that conference.
That's all the Magic Leap is good for is projecting little pocket elephants.
There's an app for that. There is an app for that. So they'll find a way. So that's wonderful. So you've had year over year success. So this is the second year. How often do you hold VRLA now?
Yeah. So we're doing it biannually. That might change as we go forward, as they keep growing, and as we try to diversify the kinds of events that we're doing. We're also, we started VRLA School about maybe 5 months ago, which is an offshoot of VRLA Expo, which provides educational workshops for people to learn how to make VR content. We've been mostly focused on 360 video type stuff, but that's really exciting, and it's a good opportunity, or it's different from the expos in that, you know, they're much more intimate and more regular place for people to, you know, gather and learn.
All right, good stuff. So the other venture you've been working on is the Proton Awards. Or sorry, Proto Awards. Excuse me, Proto Awards. My apologies.
It's okay.
Proton. I don't know what I was thinking. So
it's pretty close.
So, you know, I guess the first question, and I kind of walked into that one, is how'd you come up with the name?
Yeah. So Proto Awards is the word proto is short for protoporous, which means pioneer in Greek.
You could have just said pioneer.
Well, that would be kind of cheesy. You gotta change.
That would have been easier, don't you think?
And then also it kind of made, you know, it made sense for at least, you know, the first few years that we've done it, in the sense that, you know, a lot of the things people were showing were kind of prototype stuff, right? You know, not so much anymore as we go forward, as the, you know, content becomes more robust. But yeah, so there's kind of two meanings there.
All right, good stuff. So I know only a handful of stuff probably A, gets accepted, and B, of course, you know, gets nominated actually, or actually wins. Mm-hmm. But you must see, you know, I guess I'm getting you on the spot here. You must get to see all kinds of wild stuff, the kind of crazy ideas. Are you, has anything kind of stuck with you? Like, you know, I know there are the winners, but I'm sure there's some amazing stuff out there that, you know, didn't quite make the cut, but was still worthy of mention. Have there been some concepts or ideas that really struck you?
So the first year of the Proto Awards, I did look at some of the content. The second year, we've had other people, you know, on the board of governors to do that work, because we're all, you know, the founders are doing so many other things. You know, the kind of great irony of my life, I suppose, is that I'm very much immersed in the VR community and planning the expo and working at a VR startup, but day to day, not, you know, using VR for like, you know, that much time. Don't worry,
we're birds of a feather. You know, we're excited. We love the technology. We love the future of the technology, but the nature of our work takes us away from being able to use it on a regular basis.
Yeah. And I think we're really, you know, the technology right now is very cool. And there definitely have been, you know, developers are making really incredible stuff for it, for sure. And I've had some great experiences in there, but, you know, we're several years away for, you know, to be able to see the kind of applications where it makes VR something that you need to use every day, right? In the sense that you use your computer, you use your iPhone as tools to do work, to communicate, you know, pretty much on an hourly basis. And I think VR and AR will certainly achieve those kind of milestones, but probably not for a few years.
So, you know, it's a little ironic. Do you remember your first Proto Awards? What's the name of the comedian you had who emceed? He acts on Silicon Valley. He's the main character.
Mm-hmm. Thomas Middleditch.
Okay. So he did this wonderful, I was there, he did this wonderful opening line, or something he said where he goes, "Here we are having awards for, you know, before we actually have content." It was something to that effect.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
How far along would you say we are since that first Proto Award?
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, if I was comparing the landscape in terms of content today versus the, you know, just 2 years ago, night and day. I mean, truthfully, and we said so, you know, at that first show, it was too early to have something like that, but we did anyway because we wanted to, and it was awesome, and we did a great job. But you know, the platforms have launched, or at least Vive and you know, Rift and Gear, and there's a lot of great stuff out there that, you know, is a lot more robust. It's not these like little tiny crappy tech demos. They're actual games. And I think we're, you know, year over year, it's going to, you know, keep accelerating, and to the point where, we just have, judging is going to get really, really difficult.
So your next VRLA, when does it take place? Who's going to be there?
It takes place. Oh, I should mention before we jump to that, the Proto. So we actually just started accepting submissions for the Proto Awards yesterday, and we'll be accepting them through July 24th. So if you're a VR developer, you have a company, you should definitely check out our website, protoowards.com, and submit your experience. Okay. But yeah, so for VRLA, it's going to take place on August 5th and 6th. And the first day is more of like a B2B day for immersive technology professionals in the industry. We have more panels that are geared towards that kind of crowd. The second day is more for kind of everyone. It's going to be more crowded. We're expecting about 6,000 people at this upcoming show. So, it's going to be pretty massive. The space that we're in is about 3 times the size as the last show. So it's a lot more space. We have a lot more exhibitors. We have a lot of crazy, crazy new things that you haven't seen before. We're doing this rave with Skull Candy and a bunch of other partners like Subpack, 3D Live, The Wave, and WeLens, where you can walk into this virtual reality space and experience music being mixed by DJs live in virtual reality. That's never been done before. That's going to be really awesome. We have a lot of motion platforms, 360 cameras, and a pretty just wide variety of different really crazy things you can try.
And just to put this in perspective, if you can, I don't know if you would know the square footage, but if you would compare the first VRLA to what you're looking forward to in August, I mean, can you put a number to it? I know you mentioned 6,000 people, but just in terms of size, like, would you be able to throw a number out there?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how accurate it would be, but it feels like in terms of space, maybe 10 to 15 times as much space. Attendance has grown 40x since we started. So that's a number that I know of for sure, but I'm not sure exactly about how much space. But it's way, way, way bigger. I mean, I hope you come. When you come, it's pretty big. Sounds
good. And I know you mentioned some of the experiences out there. There's going to be plenty for people to try. Do you think there's going to be like lineups all over, or do you think there's going to be a lot of diverse stuff? How would you describe it?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be lines for sure. I mean, there's going to be some things that are, have longer lines than others. We have, the event is sponsored by Radio Technologies Group, part of AMD. They're our marquee sponsor. We have HTC coming, Deluxe, HP, GoPro, Dolby, Nokia, Technicolor, Google, Otoy, Unity, all, some of the biggest names in VR are going to be there. I should also mention, on the Saturday, the second day, we're having Reggie Watts as the keynote speaker. So that'll be really exciting. He's been involved with some of the stuff that Weaver has been doing and is a pretty hilarious musician and comedian, and someone that I find very funny. So I'm excited to see what he has to say.
So there was early mention that you were going to announce the keynote for VRLA. Is this the first announcement of that, or?
Yes. I hope you don't post this until Wednesday.
Okay. Oh, you're breaking up there, Cosmo. I didn't hear. I heard Tuesday. Okay, I promise. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. No problem.
Yes.
So that's great stuff. Yeah. So speaking of seeing the future, like early, what's Visionary VR?
Yeah, so we're a software startup building an application for creating stories in virtual reality. So I can't go into too much details of exactly what that means, but essentially the problem that we're solving is that, there's a lot of people that are really excited about VR. They're storytellers, they're filmmakers, directors, writers, etc. And so they're using 360 video as their kind of outlet to express themselves in VR. But the problem is that it's a very limiting technology as it is today, right? And so
limiting how so?
In the sense that there's no positional tracking, there's no interactivity, and certainly there's ways of getting around that. But the base technology as it is right now, your traditional 360 camera, is only going to provide you this one perspective like this. And so if you want to use a game engine which provides total control, that works pretty well, except it's very complicated and very expensive. And you have to have a very specialized sort of set of skills in order to use it properly. And so our goal is to use a game engine to enable people to more easily create stories in virtual reality.
All right, good stuff. Well, we are seeing other developments like that. I mean, this is, like the founders of Crytek started, game engine, which is there's a lot of work being done to use game engines in cinema. So you're certainly on the right track.
Exactly. I mean, my personal perspective is that, so certainly 360 video has inherent value of being able to capture, real life, right? Like physical people and places and stuff, and capturing memories, journalism, etc. Ultimately, I think everything will transition into the computer. If you believe in the singularity and this idea of offloading, ultimately, uploading your own consciousness into a digital computer, then that's kind of, that's where the future lies for me. And so working in a game engine is kind of the ultimate future proofing for any kind of VR platform today.
That doesn't sound like such a good idea, uploading your consciousness to a computer. I mean, have you seen my computer? I guess you haven't. It crashes like 2-3 times a day. I mean, that's not such a good idea there, Cosmo.
Hey, well, I think by the time that's possible, we'll probably have that figured out.
Oh, I don't know. It's usually the other way around.
I don't know.
It's God forbid, but it's kind of like the self-driving car. I read an article recently with what's the name of that electric car that everyone's crazy about? Tesla? Yeah, Tesla, that's the one. It's late in my day. It's a little earlier in the day for you. So what I read, unfortunately, it's very sad actually, that he was using the car on the highway and he was watching a movie when he really shouldn't have been. They actually have instructions that you're supposed to keep both cars on the wheel. And they were expressing that, unfortunately, they do expect other people to have accidents as the technology develops. This was in the article. Mm-hmm. So, it's unfortunate, but it doesn't always work out in that exact order as you've described. But hopefully we're some time away before I upload my consciousness to a computer. Yeah, I mean, it's a very kind of far future perspective. Not something that will happen anytime soon, but I think some form of that will happen eventually. Well, let's talk about the soon. I mean, VRLA is just around the bend. Proto Awards are, you're accepting submissions. Mm-hmm. What type of content, what technologies do you think are going to be the short-term successes? And when I say successes, I mean people making a living. Yeah. So, well, in terms of, business model, I suppose, like, enterprise and like for hire, projects are going to be the most profitable, right? Because, brands, there's a lot of, various companies out there looking at, virtual reality as a marketing tool. And so they're willing to pay, thousands and millions of dollars for, various VR studios to come up with a little demo for them. And so if you're a company that's able to, produce something like that, then, you're going to start, being able to survive in the near term. I think
for us at Visionary, that was, a question that, we were, wrestling with for a while, but ultimately decided that, we didn't really want to do projects for other people.
All right. Okay. So, what I'm hearing, there's obviously a lot of excitement around the out-of-home entertainment market.
Yeah.
I think you've just alluded to that for sure. I mean, what do you think? Like for mass market VR, where there's enough headsets out there, there's enough content out there that people are making money from reaching the everyday consumer, likely in the home. What time frame is realistic? What do you think is the industry expectation at this point?
Is realistic for what?
To make a living, that the market isn't living on investment, the market is living on sales.
Yeah, I mean, I think my estimation in terms of like when you have like a robust consumer base to just sustain yourself on is probably 2-3 years out.
All right. Maybe a better way to ask the question is, you're in the thick of it. You got you're putting on this wonderful event. The countless developers are coming in, independent and the large size, and you got the vendors there. Having a pulse on the VR world. What do you think the expectation is? I mean, what do you think they think the a realistic outcome is?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like most people would agree with what I just said. I mean, I don't really know if that's true, but I think most people have, something that I talked about in the last opening remarks at the last VRLA was to set your expectations for 2016, right? Like things aren't going to change overnight. Just because the Rift and the Vive launched doesn't mean it's suddenly going to become this worldwide cultural phenomenon where, millions and millions of people have these devices, right? There's going to be, a slow, kind of build. And then ultimately when the price is at a point where the average person can afford it, that's the point where I think it'll take off, right? I was kind of having a similar conversation with Chris Miranda, from Enter VR a few days ago, about this. And, if you kind of compare it to like the iPhone, when that first launched, it was a really cool piece of technology, really incredible, revolutionary. But it was very expensive, $600, for 4 gigabytes or no, for 8 gigabytes. And, kind of just the early adopters, the geeks had it. And then, right around sort of 2010 with iPhone 4, suddenly kind of, I would look around and all these people had the iPhone 4, just, my friends and just, random strangers. And, finally hit this point where, the price and the technology caught up with, what people were able to buy. So I think, we'll experience a similar kind of moment with immersive technology.
All right, good stuff. So let's just finish up with some quick reminders. Proto Awards, you're accepting submissions right now. Is there a specific format? What's the process for sending in a submission?
Yeah, so you can just go to protoawards.com/submit.
Okay, good stuff. And then for VRLA, your tickets are on sale?
Yeah, you can go to virtualrealityla.com, or you could follow us on Twitter at VR Los Angeles.
Okay, great stuff. Well, thanks for joining us, Cosmo. It's been great.
Thanks so much.
Okay, this is Neil Schneider in the Messy Basement, back with more right after this. Well, you know the drill. If you want to be on the show, if you have ideas for the program, by all means, send me an email at neilsmessybasement@mtbs3d.com. I'd love to hear from you. So, I'll talk to you again next week.